stop sharing.
Good morning, Prof. Hairul.
Good morning.
Morning. Okay, so now it's about 9:58. How about the sound? Is it echo? Got echo or not?
A little bit.
A little bit.
Bad. Yeah.
Oh, you close the speaker.
How about my voice also? Is it?
Yeah, it's very clear, Prof. Hairul. It's very clear. Your voice is no problem at all.
Okay.
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 Yeah. A very good morning and selamat pagi, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the International Educational Management and Leadership 2021 webinar with a specific theme of issues on turnaround schools. What can we learn from China and Malaysia? Organized by the School of Educational Studies, University Science Malaysia. For your information, we have about 456 participants registered for this webinar. They are from 11 countries, Malaysia, China, Brunei Darussalam, Indonesia, Cambodia, Philippines, Vietnam, Maldives, Pakistan, Saudi Arabia, and Somalia. Before we begin the webinar, please take note of the following points. Please disable your mic when logged in. If you would like to ask questions, feel free to type in your question in the chat room. The section will be recorded for documentation purposes, and the PPT slides and recording will be shared upon with participants upon request. And very important things is please scan your QR code and answer the evaluation form in order to claim the e-certificates. Both are available in the chat room. So, ladies and gentlemen, to begin the webinar, we would like to welcome the Dean of the School of Educational Studies, University Science Malaysia, Professor Dr. Hainurizam Ismail, to give his welcoming remarks. Prof, the floor is yours. Prof, can you please mute your mic? Yeah, enable your mic.
Okay. Okay, I'll start again. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh, and very good morning, everybody. Thank you, Dr. Tian, as the moderator for today's event. To our honorable keynote speaker, Dr. Peng Liu from Faculty of Education, University of Manitoba, Canada. Our honorable plenary speakers, Dr. Hajah Rosmini binti Ku Ahmad, Rector, Institute of Teacher Education, Malaysia. Dr. Shirley Tay Siu Hong, former excellent principal in SMK Sanzas, Sabah. Very interesting name for the school. And ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. First of all, I would like to thanks the organizing committee for preparing or provide me with this talking point. Thank you very much, Dr. Tian and the team. So inshallah, I will try to deliver the point prepared by the secretariat. Okay, so low performing schools are commonly associated with the poor physical facilities, fragile leadership, and poor student performance. To accelerate the quality of education system, transforming low-performing schools or turnaround school initiatives serve as an important agenda in the school improvement movement for almost every country in the world. For instance, the implementation of No Child Left Behind, NCLB, as the whole school reform model initiated by United States of America, I believe in 2001, if I'm not mistaken. I was there when this initiative was launched by the president, J.W. Bush Jr. So it was really an event for the field of education. So so the implementation of this No Child Left Behind initiative serve as a driving force to ensure the accountability of students' achievement. In Asia country, the China government, for example, has initiated transforming turnaround school programs that center on equality in school funding allocation, building joint ventures between turnaround school, key schools, external agencies, and local community support. Meanwhile, in Malaysia, to achieve the aspiration of education equity, as highlighted in the Malaysian Educational Blueprint 2013-2025, the Ministry of Education has launched the School Transformation 2025 program, known as TS25, as one of the educational transformation initiatives, particularly to improve students' outcome and the quality of underperforming schools. With this concern in mind, this webinar aims to provide a better understanding of the issue on turnaround schools from both China and Malaysia context. Ladies and gentlemen, as you may notice, the distinguished speakers for today's webinar series consists of a mixture of academic, policymakers, and practitioners. As such, I strongly believe that at the end of this webinar, the participants of this webinar will have a better understanding of the process, strategies, and challenges faced by the educators in turnaround schools, both in China and Malaysia. Knowing this is important as the input can assist us to improve our school at the school, district, state, or ministry levels. To conclude, I would like to congratulate the Management and Curriculum Cluster, School of Educational Studies, USM, which is the organizing committee for successfully conducting this webinar. It is hoped that this webinar will provide a platform for the international and local educational researchers to exchange knowledge and ideas on turnaround schools. So, at the end, with the kalima Bismillahirrahmanirrahim, I hereby officiate the International Educational Management and Leadership 2021 webinar series. Thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you.
Thank you, Prof. Hairul, to officiate this webinar. Ladies and gentlemen, now is the time that we are waiting for. We are very happy to have Dr. Peng Liu as the keynote speaker for this webinar. Allow me to read out Dr. Liu biodata. Dr. Liu earned his doctorate degree from the Ontario Institute for Studies in Education at the University of Toronto, Canada. Prior to working at the Faculty of Education, University of Manitoba, Dr. Peng Liu was a faculty member and Faculty of Education, University of Hong Kong. Dr. Liu has published articles in top-tier journals, including Educational Management, Administration and Leadership, School Effectiveness and School Improvement. His well-established publication record of research excellence has had a huge impact on the Western and Asian education communities, particularly in educational leadership, indigenous leadership, teacher professional development, and international collaborative education. He has recently published a book entitled Transforming Turnaround Schools in China in Springer. With this, I welcome Dr. Peng Liu to share his presentation entitled Transforming Turnaround School in China, Values, Approaches, and Challenges. Dr. Liu, the floor is yours.
Hi, Dr. Deng. Thanks. Thanks for your introduction. So I will try to share my screen first, all right? Please.
Yes, sure.
Okay. Okay, can you see it, please?
Yeah, we can see it. Yeah.
All right, so now I only can see myself and you, right? So it's like a teaching online, just sometimes make you feel lonely. Hello, everyone. First, I would like to show my real appreciation to the Dean of Faculty of Education at University in Malaysia and Dr. Deng and all the colleagues, and you make this event happen. So before I start, I would like to take time to introduce myself a little bit. My name is Peng Liu. My first name is Peng, is coming from Indian culture originally. I'm not sure here we have the Indian colleague or not. So big bird can fly 8 miles a day. So I fly around the world and finally run away from the Hong Kong to Canada. So my mom gave this name. I really like it. So my research is pretty much focused on educational leadership and change. So why I have to focus on educational leadership? Because when I first graduated, I was I was doing a little bit administrative work, so which drive me to do some educational leadership work. And also I like change. So leadership is directly connected to change. This is why I focus on educational leadership and educational change. So my job, actually, I used to work in Hong Kong, but I was told Hong Kong is too warm, so I transferred to Canada. It's colder, right? It's warmer, right? So yeah, I was joking. So my presentation topic for today is transforming turnaround school in China, values, approaches, and challenges. This is my recent publication with the Springer. Taken me about more than 5 years. And so this book gives you some detailed information about how Chinese government transform turnaround schools. So you can get this book from Amazon, or you can get from your own university library system. So first of all, I'd like to introduce the agenda for today. At the beginning, I like to introduce the definition of turnaround school in Chinese context, followed by the reasons to choose China as the context, and followed by the causes of the Chinese turnaround schools. Then I'm going to talk a little bit the underlying values for transforming Chinese turnaround school. Then approaches to transform the Chinese turnaround school and the challenges in transforming turnaround school in China. First, I would like to talk about the definition of turnaround school in China. I think many audience and also the dean talking about the turnaround school initiative in states, No Child Left Behind. And compared with the American definition, actually in Chinese context, turnaround school, this definition in Chinese context is broader compared with the American definition, mainly refer to school with poor facilities, fragile leadership capacity of the leading team, and low teaching quality, and low student achievement, and insufficient teaching resources. So this is a definition of the turnaround school in Chinese context. So why I choose the China as a context? So Chinese economy has been booming in past 40 years. I think the China can be a case for many developing countries in Asian contexts and other countries in this world. In China, amazingly, actually in China, based on the literature, 20 to 40% of the total number of schools in urban areas, they are the low performing schools. It's amazing, right? And also, in the rural area, based on the current literature, it's about 30%. The schools are low performing schools. In Chinese context, like what I said, the Chinese economy has been booming for 40 years. The successful experience from the Chinese side could be the example for other developing countries. Particularly in China right now, people are very demanding in the high quality education is highly demanded. So this is why I choose the China as a context. Maybe can sharing the successful experience in China can be learned or exchanged with other countries. So in this slide, I like to introduce the causes for having the Chinese turnaround schools. Why there are so many turnaround schools in Chinese context? So in first reason is because in China is still a poor country compared to the developed countries, right? Particularly GDP is comparatively lower than many countries, and China doesn't have the sufficient money for educational system. Even compared to other developing countries, the per investment on education still comparatively lower. And the second, in China, the irrational evaluation system, because the Chinese school supervision and evaluation system is very generalized, didn't think about the special conditions and characteristic of the turnaround schools. The third reason is China is a huge country. If you travel from the China, you can find from the west, from the east to west, you can find the different level economic levels. And in China, also there's a huge differences between urban area and the rural area. If you go to Shanghai or Beijing, you can say, oh my God, this is pretty much a developed country. But if you go to the western part, the rural area, actually, the economic level is still comparatively low. And another reason to have the turnaround school in China is because the Chinese education management system. For instance, in China, the basic education is controlled by the county level, which means, if you are in the rich county, you're gonna got a more educational investment. But if you're gonna have the poor county, you get less educational investment. So which caused imbalanced teaching resources. Another important factors in Chinese context, we have the key for us to have the turnaround school is we have the key school system. This system actually is problematic. So probably some Chinese audience here know about the key school system, but some colleagues from other countries might not familiar with the key school system in Chinese context. This key school system was established at the beginning of the People's Republic of China. The purpose to have this key school system is to develop the qualified person, quickly. So which means the more resources go to the key system, but other schools have the least, least resources. And also another reason to have the turnaround school is like a school choice in Chinese context. So the Chinese people pretty much like to choose the good schools. They are reluctant to send the kids to the low performing schools. And also in turnaround school, there lack of the sufficient social support, which means lack of the social capital. So the Chinese money, the money and always go to the key schools, which cause the problem, cause the turnaround school in Chinese educational system. So what are the underlying values for Chinese government to change the turnaround school? the first one, the Chinese government is pretty much focused on the equality. They try to evenly distribute the resources. And also from the Chinese government perspective, they try to ensure the social stability, which is closely connected to the social mobility, because they think the education is the basic right for all children. If all children got the good education, so they can maintain the social stability. And also, another value for Chinese government to change the turnaround school is achieving the common prosperity. I think in this aspect, the Chinese government did a great job. So because in China, there are huge differences between different areas, the urban and rural, and some big cities and some small cities. So some poor, extremely poor. So the Chinese government trying to facilitate the education in order to achieve the common prosperity. Particularly, recently Chinese government implement the target property elevation policy, which aim to reduce the poverty and to transform the turnaround schools. There's a different approaches to transform turnaround school in China. So the first one is merging the turnaround school, low performing school with the key schools. These key schools means they have the good performance, they have the good resources, and also they set up the education group led by the key schools. At the same time, they set up the joint school system, try to help the turnaround school and the low performing schools. So what's the differences between number one and number three? Between the number three and number two and number one. So for the number three, setting up the joint school system is just a short-term collaboration between the key school and turnaround school. But for merging, for the number one and number two, it's a long time collaboration between the turnaround school and the key school. The fourth important approaches for Chinese government is to implementing the mandatory educational system, which is to separate the ownership and the management right. Basically, they giving the management right to the third party, to the agency, try to use the agency to help these turnaround schools. So what is the fifth approach? The fifth approach from the Chinese government perspective, they try to improve the turnaround schools by standardization and specialization of the turnaround schools. So what is the standardization? Which means the Chinese government set up the criteria. So set up the criteria and to standards the try to improve the turnaround schools. And all turnaround schools have to reach the standards in certain years. And also, what is the specialization of the turnaround schools? This is very unique phenomenon in Chinese education, Chinese strategy, which means the Chinese government not simply close the turnaround schools, but they identify the unique strengths of the turnaround schools. For instance, some turnaround schools are good at sports, and some turnaround schools good at music. Some turnaround schools are good at painting. So try to foster the special, unique characteristic of the turnaround schools instead of simply closing these schools. The number 6 strategy for Chinese government to change the turnaround school is to increasing the public awareness. I think so from my understanding, the Chinese government recognize the social support is pretty much important. So they use the different kind of media to increase the awareness of the public awareness to increase the public awareness to help the turnaround schools. So number 7, equalizing the educational fund distribution. So in the past, in Chinese context, so when they distribute the educational fund, They pretty much based on what? They base on the, the head of the number of the student in your school. So this is called a problem for the turnaround schools. So like what we said, so the turnaround school has a less student because most of the parents, just send their kids to the key schools. The turnaround schools have the less student, so they have the less money. So the Chinese government try to equalize the educational funding distribution through the different ways. For instance, they set up the special fund and also invest more monies and set up the educational fund auditing system. And also they use the different ways to accumulate the fund, try to give the support, full support to the low performing schools. Another approach for Chinese government to transform turnaround school is partner the turnaround school with a company, right? So the company, so the kids, particularly in the higher education, so they can get some internship from the company, right? And the company can learn from something, get the support from the school as well. So another approach for Chinese government to change turnaround school is to setting a reasonable evaluation system. Pretty much when they set up the criteria, they pretty much consider the conditions of the turnaround schools, right? And also they use the stick and the carrot, like support and punish, and try to facilitate the change in turnaround schools. Another important strategy for Chinese government to change turnaround school is to build up the communities, right? So for the turnaround school, for instance, they making the connections between turnaround school with the libraries, sports centers, and also the health centers, and try to help the turnaround school to grow. Another important approach, this is very important for Chinese government, is to facilitate the mobility of the teachers and the principals. And also they improve the quality of the principal and teachers. So in terms of the mobility of the teachers and principal, there are more informations we can discuss later. So there's, in one way, the mobility of the teachers and the principal from the good schools can really help the turnaround school. But in the practice, also got some problems because sometimes the teachers really don't like to change. They are in the good schools, right? So they got good salary and good social statures. And how come they like to go to the low performing schools without sufficient fundings and resources? There is also another approach for Chinese government to change the turnaround school, which is focusing on the student holistic development, which reflect the Chinese culture, so holistic view. For instance, they try to cultivate the good habits of the kids in the turnaround school, and also improve the confidence of the turnaround school students. Because they are in bad school, right, compared with other good schools. So try to improve their confidence and develop their gratitude, right, to the society, to the family. The challenges to improve the turnaround schools. So ideology of the elite education. In Chinese education, Chinese culture, we pretty much appreciate the elite education. So this is still the problem, right? So which caused the problem in transforming the turnaround schools. And also the student enrollment problem. This is a school choice still there, right? So the turnaround school don't have the sufficient student and good, particularly quality student. And also the practical problem of the teacher mobility. On the one hand, there's a lack of the incomplete legal system to ensure the appropriate teacher mobility. And also when the teacher go to the turnaround schools, they lack of the sufficient professional support. And they also lack of the supervision in practice. And there we talk about the educational group, and the Chinese government try to match the key schools and also the turnaround schools. So they build up the educational group, right? So led by the key school. But in the educational practice, there's a still problem. The government intervened a lot, which limited the flexibility and autonomy of the key schools. And also there's an unclear governance structure. So based on my personal experience, in China, particularly in rural area, there's a key school. There's, just a turnaround school. The turnaround school become the part of the key school. And the principal from the turnaround school, everything has to get the permission from the principal in the key school. How come they operate really well? So which caused the problem. And also, there's the problems in teaching training and mobility. And the imbalanced resources distribution still the problem. So these are the challenges for Chinese government to improve the turnaround school. So I just make a conclusion. So in China, over the years, they take the different kind of the strategy. For instance, I talk about education group. They merge the key school and the turnaround school. And the second, they use the standardized strategy. And they also use the specialization, right? Characterized turnaround school, right? Fosters the unique characteristic of the turnaround school, and also facilitate the teacher mobility. And they give the sufficient funding to turnaround schools. They try to facilitate the principal professional development and teacher development and student development. They also try to, facilitate the collaborations across the, within the school, across the regions, even across the province. And they try to giving the more social support to the turnaround schools and build up the social capital for the turnaround schools. Sorry. So I have some questions at the end of my presentation. So think about it. Whether principals and teachers' mobility can really help transforming the turnaround schools. And the second question, whether developing characterized schools can help transformation. And number three, whether external support and internal transformation are real friends. The fourth question, whether turnaround school policies can stand alone. Thanks for your time. Thank you. This is my presentation.
Thank you, Dr. Liu, presenting such an informative presentation with us. So we have one question here in the chat room. Okay. It is interesting to know turnaround schools account to 20 to 40% in urban areas in China. One may assume this is common phenomenon in rural areas. In your perspective, why is this so special in urban areas? What are the contributing factors?
This is a very good question. I think first of all, I appreciate this question a lot. Averagely, this percentage of the turnaround school in Chinese context is from the 20 to 40. So this just because the most important in urban area is about a key school system. Like what I talk about. In key school system, the key school have more resources, and for the turnaround school, they have the less resources, which cause the problem. And also, the turnaround school is pretty much connected social economics in the different districts within the city. Some districts are very rich; they have the less turnaround schools. But some districts are rich; they have them. They have less turnaround schools. But the poorer districts have the more turnaround schools. This pretty much connect to the socio-economic status of the area.
Thanks, Dr. Liu. There is another question, the second question. merging turnaround schools with key schools seems an interesting move. Could you please elaborate in great detail how the merging between schools are done in China? What aspects are focused in this merging?
All right, so if my understanding, the connection is not great. So if my understanding is correct, is how the the key school and turnaround school are merged. Is that right? All right.
It can be
so
done.
For have the educational group actually is administrated by the government, right? By the government. The government, the educational bureau give the suggestions. So for example, number one, key schools in Beijing city. So you got to merge some, turnaround schools, become part of your educational group. So the purpose for having the educational group is to share the educational resources within the educational group. So normally in Chinese system, the key schools, they have the more excellent teaching resources. They have a good educational facilities. Actually it's not, I can say it's not social justice. It's not equity, right? So this is a problematic. So building up the educational group led by the key school, so can really pretty much facilitate the resource distribution, right? In terms of the teaching facilities and also the teaching resource, teaching capacities within school. Please.
Thank you, Dr. Liu. So we have another questions here. Is
Yes,
autonomy in administering and managing school are important in turnaround school, meaning little intervention from other education departments?
I'm not sure. So the question is whether the autonomy is important or not, right? Yeah, from my perspective, actually autonomy is still important, even for the turnaround schools, because there's still the gap. Even if they build up the educational group, right? So the teachers, the teachers in turnaround schools, not always all of them are bad teachers, right? But once they merge, the teachers, they know in turnaround schools, they know there really well. The principals from the key schools and excellent teacher from the key schools, they went to they mobile to the turnaround schools, but actually it take times to know the situation in the turnaround schools. Sometimes, not really help. Yeah. So I think in certain sense, the autonomy is still important. I still argue for that point from the Chinese culture perspective, because from the Chinese culture perspective, the people, if you really want to grow, you have to be strong inside. So I pretty much appreciate the Chinese government to foster the unique characteristic of the turnaround schools, build up the capacity of the turnaround schools, respect the autonomy of the turnaround schools. That really help them to grow and develop essentially, instead of the simply merge to each other. Yeah.
So I think, Dr. Liu, many participants here attracted by your sharing just now. So there are still a few questions follow up. The next one is there any success stories of turnaround school in China that you can share with us? How do measure the success? How do we know that the low performing school has turned around successfully, transformed successfully?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. Of course, in China, it's a lot of the success for transforming the turnaround schools. Please, if you got time, so I just appreciate if you can read the case from my book. It's a Yangtze school and also my publications, right? So I talk about Yangtze schools and also Dulangkou. Yeah, it's Dulangkou is a famous turnaround school in China. One professor in China also sharing this in EXC conference. there is a successful experience. So from my perspective, so successful the turnaround schools, the student achievement should be important standard, because the important work for the school is teaching and learning. This is the first criteria. And the second, we need to set up the standard from the organization capacity perspective. I always talk about organization capacity. For instance, we talk about a collaborative culture, right? Collaborative culture, this is important. And the third point, great leadership team, right? The fourth point is coherent. Between the school, when we transform the school, we need to make the vision, we make the goal coherent. And also, when we evaluate the successful turnaround school, we can evaluate the teacher professional development. This is also important. And also we evaluate what? Evaluate a community relationship. Actually the community relationship between school and, the community, sometimes it's controversial, right? Sometimes we meet the bad parents. But generally speaking, based on the scientific study, if we have the good relationship with the families and the community, most of the time is positive side for school. So we pretty much can evaluate the successful turnaround school from these aspects. Yeah, this is my point.
Thank you, Dr. Liu. I think this is, there are a few questions, but I think maybe the participants can ask Dr. Liu through email later on. So allow me to ask the last questions for Dr. Liu. So from your point of view, what are the essential competencies for school principals and teachers to ensure successful turnaround schools?
You mean for the school principals? I
Yes,
think so based on the scientific study, I write the comprehensive review for between 2009 and 2016, right? Turnaround school leadership actually is a combination. It cannot simply say it's instructional leadership or transformational leadership, right? Particularly in Chinese context, actually, I think about this question. For Asian countries, we pretty much adopt a Western model, leadership model, and simply planned in, Chinese context or, other Asian country context. But from my point of view, the leadership is pretty much culture sensitive. It's, we need to pay attention to the cultural values. Some leadership practice, for instance, in Chinese culture, the relationship between the leaders and subordinate is totally different with the relationship between that kind of relationship in the Western concept. For instance, just to share with colleague, when I first come, I give the small gift to my department head, just show my appreciation, he appreciated his support. He said, when you were in Hong Kong, did you do that? Across the culture, actually people have the really different perceptions. Come back to the cognitive science. People have the different perception. Our perception of the leadership is pretty much influenced by the culture, right? So we have the different leadership stereotype. So yeah, I think so we can pretty much conceptualize our Asian own turnaround leadership. Yeah, but for sure there is some commonality across the cultures. And in terms of the teachers, I think that's great. In turnaround schools, I think so for middle leadership, particularly for teacher leadership, it's my recent study point. I think for leadership, it's still the same point. Teacher leadership is not simply combination. We cannot say it's an instructional teacher leadership or transformational teacher leadership. I think it's kind of the combination. It also can be called integrative leadership. I think this is more appropriate word. Particularly in Chinese context, I guess it could be similar. Chinese context could be similar to Malaysia context. So morality in our culture is pretty much important. But based on my study, research, and experience in Western contexts, pretty much, they pretty much focus on the people's capacity, leaders' capacity, but morality is not important. I hope that answers your question. Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Liu. I think we still have few questions, but I think because of the time constraint, I have to let them maybe email to Dr. Liu for details. Hope you don't mind that they will contact you soon.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thanks
thank
for your
you.
time.
Thank you, Dr. Liu. So now we would like to invite to welcome our plenary speaker, Dr. Haja Rusmini binti Gu Ahmad. Dr. Rusmini is currently Director of Institute of Teacher Education, IPGM, Ministry of Education, Malaysia. Allow me to read out Dr. Rusmini biodata. Dr. Rusmini earned her PhD degree in the area of educational management in University Utara, Malaysia. Dr. Rusmini was the former director of the Research Development and Innovation Center of IPGM. She is a former lecturer in IAB and also a former secondary school teacher for about 10 years. Although with a tight schedule, Dr. Rusmini has also actively published her scholarly research work in referred journals, books, and paper presentation in many seminars and conferences. She has also been the awardee for the Excellent Service Award for 3 times and the recipient of the Yayasan Sain Dabi Scholarship. Dr. Rusmini, we are very happy to have you today. We are excited to learn more from you, especially the initiative taken by the Ministry of Education Malaysia in transforming the law performing school. The title of Dr. Rusmini's presentation is Uplifting the Quality of Teaching and Learning Through New Pedagogies of Deep Learning, a Malaysian case study. With this, hand over it to you, Dr. Rusmini. Silakan.
Thank you, Dr. Tian. Assalamualaikum and a warm welcome I bid to all. And before I begin, I would like to take this opportunity to express my gratitude to the School of Educational Studies, University Science Malaysia, my alma mater, for giving me the honor of being one of the plenary speaker in the International Educational Management and Leadership 2021 webinar series. I would like to share this morning on the uplifting the quality of teaching and learning through new pedagogies of deep learning, a Malaysian case study, which most of our lecturers, in fact, we anticipate or we aspire to have more of our lecturers to support the schools in the turnaround of schools by using new pedagogies of deep learning. And it is actually based on the data gathered from schools in which the Institute of Teacher Education, Ministry of Education Malaysia, played a significant role in helping these schools becoming better schools. And as we know, education plays a central role in any country's pursuit of economic growth and national development. And there is no better predictor of a nation's future than what is happening in its classroom. In today's global economy, a nation's success depends totally, I think, depends on fundamentally on the knowledge, skills, and competencies of its people. So the purpose of education in Malaysia is to enable Malaysian society to have a command of knowledge, skills, values necessary in the world that is highly competitive and globalized, arising from the impact of rapid development in science, technology, and information. And for that reason, the Ministry of Education under its transformational education blueprint or Malaysian education blueprint 2013-2025. Until 2025, we have developed two wishful aspects. We aspire to have system aspiration for those the education system as a whole, and student aspiration those for individual students. So these are the two main aspirations. And before 2018, the performance of the schools was based on the school band. We rank the school according to band. Band 1 is the most excellent school, while the lowest rank is band 7. So based on the data given by the school inspectorate, there were 3% of primary schools fall under the band 6 and 7, which is not so good, 6 and 7 category, while 11% of secondary schools were in band 1 and 2 versus 8% in band 6 and 7. That was before 2018, but now the schools, they can do a self rating to gauge their performance by using the same instrument that was used by the school inspectorate, and now they are rating self-rated the schools themselves. And one of the ways to turn around the academic performance of these schools is the introduction of the school transformation program 2025. We started from 2015, and our target is until 2025. We call it the acronym is TS25, which was implemented since 2015. And it is an initiative of the Ministry of Education to increase the students' success in school through effective leadership, competent teachers, and strong commitment of the Parent Teacher Association, PTA, or we call it PIBG. Three fundamental elements in ensuring students' learning is the curriculum itself, teacher pedagogy, and the assessment employed by the schools. This needs to be supported by good quality teachers, effective school leaders, and support by parents and the community. So the schools transformation initiatives also focus on creating conducive environment for teaching and learning, and the promotion of deep learning attributes among teachers, which I would share more in the next slides. And thus, our institute or IPG provides knowledge, skills of these deep learning initiatives through the implementation of new pedagogies of deep learning, or the acronym is NPDL, to the school leaders and the teachers. So this is in line with the Malaysian Education Blueprint, intentions to apply best practices in pedagogy to change the country's educational landscape, so that it's going to be on par with the developed countries such as Singapore, Canada, Finland, through schools transformation program. And when we talk about new pedagogies of deep learning, we cannot run away from the 6 C's for deep learning as proposed by Michael Fullan. That is creativity, communication, citizenship, critical thinking, character, and collaboration. So these are the attributes that are not totally new and yet important to enable students, especially in low or average performing schools, to score a higher band of excellence. So deep and meaningful learning occurs when students are able to use content knowledge and skills to explore and create new knowledge when they are able to apply their knowledge in their daily lives. In other words, they can use the whatever content or whatever theories in the curriculum they can apply in their real situation.
Support are
So
essential towards the success.
the
We,
6 global
the judges, would like
competencies
to say, good
became
job,
more
well done.
prominent
The
during
judges
the
are sure that they can do even better.
COVID-19
By
challenging.
learning from current shortcomings, their mistakes,
What's
and
that?
to
Is
learn
there
from
anything?
every success. The
Okay,
judges
challenging whereby
participants to
students,
bring the skills and
schools
lessons
and
that they learned
teachers
here.
forced.
Sorry, Dr. Rosmini. I'm sorry. Sekejap ya.
Okay.
I'm sorry. So just a gentle reminder to all the participants, please enable your mic when speaker sharing their presentation. Thank you for your kind understanding. Sorry, Dr. Rosmini.
Okay. There's a meeting in another in this webinar sessions. So the teachers are forced to leveraging on digital tools during the pandemic crisis and digital facilities to develop their global competencies to a wider level, not only in the country, but also with learning partners from abroad. So that is the best time. They use the skills, their digital tools, their digital skills, while at the same time the students they learn with the teachers. So how did we help? How did the Institute of Teacher Education help to turn low and average schools to better performing schools, irrespective of their geographical locations and facilities? So it is through the introduction and the implementation of new pedagogies of deep learning, in which IPGM, or our institute, plays an important role in coaching and mentoring the teachers, the school leaders by Institute Aminuddin Baki, and the students towards creating new relationship between students, lecturers, and the school community. So in this context, the implementation in schools encompasses curriculum, coaching of coaches, and instructional coaching in schools. So all this will be shown within the context of schools that I will share in the next slides. So for this session, I would like to talk about and I would like to share about 4 schools in which our lecturers and the schools work closely to improve and turn around their academic performances, quality, and overall teaching and learning experience. The schools Sekolah Menengah Batu Empat, which is a secondary school, which is located in Perak, and this is a secondary rural school. And IPG lecturers expose the teachers, the school leaders, and the students to the concept of new pedagogies of deep learning, engage teaching and learning experiences process via unpacking the curriculum, utilizing big ideas and essential questioning technique, showcase impactful project-oriented activities, or maybe some might call problem-based activities or thematic learning, as well as fostering close ties with parents and local communities. So the school did a project on a hydro electric model with the support from our local electricity provider, which is Tenaga Nasional Berhad, or TNB. And the second school is a primary school, Sekolah Kebangsaan Jimah Baru, located in a rural area in Port Dickson, Negeri Sembilan. And this school has moved from an average school to a mid-performing school. And IPG lecturers help the school to practice the 6 C's via careful mentoring program between the lecturers and the school teachers, a professional coaching of the school leaders, as well as collaborate with external agencies, NGOs, and local district education officers. This is how our institution, our lecturers motivate all the school community towards the love for learning. And among the success stories of the schools, the project output, heritage trail, a refrigerator sticker tab, and community collaboration with museum curator, poetry recitation competition, patriotic speech, singing, and character puzzle game. And the third school is Sekolah Jenis Kebangsaan Tamil Bandar Spring Hill, which is a Tamil school also located in rural Negeri Sembilan. And the school was nominated as Port Dickson Win School, an iconic school for higher order thinking skills and 21st century learning. The pupils excel in district, at the state level, and at the national and international level as well, in terms of activities and competitions, due to a highly motivated school leaders and the teachers. The standardized primary level or our national examination UPSR results also increased, especially in the Malay language, from 55% to 97%, and the school managed to showcase project output, food pyramid, as one of their high impact projects. And finally, the last school is primary urban school, Sekolah Kebangsaan K. Johari, located in the northern state of Kedah. And this school is quite a big number of students, and our lecturers, RPG lecturers, help them in terms of enhancing teachers' instructional skills via guidance and mentoring, with an emphasis on analyzing current realities, the strengths and weaknesses of the schools, setting up attainable targets, engaging in teaching strategies based on teacher clarity and backward design. So these are the teaching approach that has been shared by our institution, our lecturers, in terms of giving the school community, the teachers, the school leaders, and the students as well, in terms of giving an approach towards deep learning. And among the success stories of the schools are the pupils excel in academic and co-curricular activities. For instance, their project output, building a dream pool. The young students managed to plan and lay out and determine the appropriate position of ornamental trees, flora and fauna to include in their dream pond, utilizing the 6 C's that was mentioned just now, but what was mentioned just now, practiced by the teachers and the school leaders. So in conclusion, I would like to summarize what I have presented today, especially the implementation of a school transformation program, School Transformation 2025 or TS25, and the new pedagogies of deep learning program, which have proven successful in bringing positive and meaningful change to the school environment, change the students' behavior and motivation, and new teacher pedagogy practices, leadership involvement and encouragement, and better relationship with parents and the local community. And I believe that these are the recipe for a successful turnaround school. And the expansion of the program, of this program of TS25 to all schools nationwide is in full swing. The dissemination and expansion of the new pedagogies of deep learning program is also implemented in a structured and more systematic and more comprehensive manner. And as of now, there are closely, I think more than 70% of our schools are already involved in this program. And the high involvement and commitment of lecturers, leaders, teachers, parents, and the students as well can make TS25 and new pedagogies of deep learning a catalyst for the transformation of schools in particular, and the education system in Malaysia in general. And with that, I end my speech. Thank you.
you, Dr. Rusmini. It's eye-opening. We learned a lot from your sharing just now. Okay, so here we have two questions from the participants. The first question is, how teachers and school leaders train on team learning? How they learn on team learning? Yes.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Tan. How do school teachers and the school leaders learn the team learning? Actually, we have a systematic and a proper and a systematic approach in using our TS25 modules. We have 8 modules, so we developed from the very beginning. The module 1, the first module is actually talking about talking about team building. You know, how do we create a good leadership in schools. How do the teachers manage themselves to build a good team? So we started from the very beginning, or from the first module, that create a good team. So incrementally, the modules will go into some kind of pedagogical technique, and then how do they use digital tools, and up until we are planning a STEM module, and how they infuse and use English language in this new pedagogies of deep learning, and the teaching pedagogy as well.
Thank you, Dr. Rusmini. The second question is deep learning still exam-oriented? Are these outcomes assessed or recorded?
I would say the deep learning is an approach, to motivate the students towards the love for learning, and to incite an inquisitive mind toward in our students. How to create higher order thinking skills, so that by having all these skills, the higher order thinking skills, a right attitude towards learning, and then the digital skills, and all these are recipe towards excellent in using in examination, in their achievements, in their performance, regardless of whether we really focus on the examinations. So the love for learning is all the recipe towards achieving good the good performance in the examination. Thank you.
So perhaps the deep learning is useful to the student achievement indirectly, right, Dr. Rusmini? Thank you. So the next question is, the success stories in the 4 case study seems more on product outcome. So could you share how do you measure learning in these 4 schools? Are there any modification to the school curriculum? Modification to the school curriculum?
Using the success stories, we are now we are in the middle of infusing the deep learning approach in our pre-service training, so that when they go out and enter the system, our students, our teacher trainee, they're already well versed with the deep learning approach. And how do we gauge? By using several indicators. We can use the students, they are self-motivated, and they have this kind of higher order thinking skills, and in the school performance as well. So not specifically we gauge in terms of examination results, but I would say is in a holistic manner. we can gauge every aspect of the holistic students. Thank you.
Yeah, for the next questions is, what are the best practices in Ministry of Education in Malaysia that make deep learning successful? What are the best practices in your opinion?
I think is the curriculum, the thematic curriculum that will become one of the enabler, so that deep learning can be infused in the school system, in the pre-service training. So we already started with the thematic curriculum at our division of the curriculum. Even though we are still in reality, we are still using a segmented teaching approach, subject by subject, but the teachers, they have to find ways on how they can use the thematic curriculum as suggested by the CDC, our curriculum division center. And not totally on the curriculum itself, but how do the teachers use their creativity in using this kind of approach, the deep learning approach, um, on how they're using the creativity to find ways in using this kind of deep learning approach. Thank you.
Thanks, Dr. Rosmini. So we still have a few questions, but I think I need to be selective because of the time constraint. So allow me to ask the last question to Dr. Rosmini. Any challenges in the implementation? What are your recommendations on the way forward?
Of course, we have challenges in the teachers' attitude, and our lecturers' skills and knowledge. Some people might call this is like something new, or this is another burden, will add up to the burden of that what we already have. But we need to see this kind of approach in a bigger picture, so that our ultimate aim is to have quality teachers, quality students. So we have to be put this kind of approach in a systematic and a structured manner, so that it will be shared during the session of training session. You infuse it. We have to infuse it in our teaching, in our training for our preschool. For our pre-service teachers, so that we have to convince our system, that our ministry, that this is one of the approach that will elevate our the quality of teaching and learning, and quality teachers and our students as well.
Dr. Rosmi, I think we have one very interesting question here, although just now I say that is the last question, but I think very interesting. Maybe I should ask you now. How do we ensure students with special education, pendidikan khas, okay, benefit this deep learning approach? Is deep learning approach applicable to students with special education needs?
Okay. We have to see it that this kind of deep learning approach, or how we infuse the 6 Cs, how we approach the 6 Cs at every level of our students, at every aspects of the students. Is just that the skills and knowledge of our teachers on how they can suit to the context of the learning context. If it's for the special kids or special needs students, so how do they use the 6 Cs, how they can make this thematic learning or project-based learning or new pedagogies of deep learning to cater the needs and the on how they can increase the motivation of the special needs students to involve in this kind of project, to involve in this kind of project-based learning or new pedagogies of based learning. It's not specifically the new pedagogies for deep learning is not specifically for certain groups of the students, and this group we have to teach from differently. It's not. Is cuts across of the types of the students.
Thanks, Dr. Rusmini. So once again, we'd like to say thank you for such a great sharing with us. It's really, even as a Malaysian, I also have a lot of new information getting from this presentation. Thank you so much,
Okay,
Dr.
my
Rusmini.
pleasure.
Yes. So now, ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome our second plenary speaker, Dr. Shirley Tay. Dr. Shirley Tay Siu Hong began her teaching career as a geography and English teacher in 1984 in SMK Majakir Papa Sabah. In 1997, she was offered a full scholarship by the Ministry of Education Malaysia to pursue her master degree in education management and language teaching in UK in year 2000. She was promoted as a school principal in SMK Convent St. Cecilia in year 2001. She was awarded another scholarship by the Ministry of Education to pursue her PhD degree in University Malaysia Sabah. She was posted to serve as SMK Bandaraya Kota Kinabalu in year 2009 and SMK Senzet Kota Kinabalu in year 2015. And she was promoted as an excellent principal Jusasi while serving in SMK Bandaraya Kota Kinabalu. Dr. Shirley has done a great and significant job in bringing positive changes in 2 low-performing schools, which have shown drastic improvement in terms of school learning culture, students' academic and co-curriculum achievement, and most of all, students' good behavior and teachers' motivation to excel as well. A remarkable track record includes mentoring and coaching teachers as well as students in creating innovative products and teachers doing action research. She even introduced team teaching and practicing the lesson study in school and between school. Besides, she has written many academic papers and paper presentation in international and local conferences. She has recently won the Role Model Teacher Award in Sabah. Dr. Shirley, I guess everyone here is so eager to listen to your presentation entitled My Journey on Continuous School Improvement in Challenging Contexts. Dr. Shirley, over it to you.
Yeah. Let me get this thing out first. Yeah, thank you very much.
Dr. Shirley,
Dr.
yeah, thank you.
Can you hear me?
Can. So maybe
yes.
you can put a slideshow.
Yeah.
Great.
It's on now, please.
Yes, great.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, Dr. Tien, for the kind introduction. A very good morning and salam sejahtera to the Honorable Dean, School of Educational Studies, USM Professor Dr. Hairul Nizam Ismail, my respected fellow speakers, Dr. Liu and Dr. Haja Rusmini, and all my friends and virtual audiences. Thank you for this opportunity for me to share briefly with you my experiences in 2 challenging schools which I have served. Well, I'll be talking about a bit of my school's experiences in 3 schools and the types of challenges that I faced, what did I do, and the impact on the whole school community. Now, thank you to Dr. Haja Rusmini for explaining to the audience that in Malaysia, schools are rated or ranked using the Malaysian the tool, Malaysian Education Quality Standard, and this is just a brief description of schools that are ranked as excellent, good, average, and so on. So in 2001, I was posted to SM Convent St. Cecilia Sandakan, which is an all-girls school, and this school has a performance level, a good performance level, I should say. And between 2009 and to 2014, I served at SMK Bandaraya Kota Kinabalu, which is a co-ed school with a huge population of 2,750 students, 162 staff, and 20 supporting staff. And before I went there, the school was managed by 2 senior assistants for 8 months after the previous school principal retired. And at that time, the overall school performance level was categorized as weak by the School of Inspectorate and Quality Assurance Sabah. Then I was then transferred to SMK Sanzek in January 2015, and I served there for 6 years until November 2020 last year. This school is located right in the heart of Kota Kinabalu city with a population of 1,500 students, 102 teachers, and 18 supporting staff. The overall school performance was not satisfactory, and it was also known as a notorious school. So in my talk today, I'll be addressing the challenges I faced in these 2 schools and how I implemented continuous school improvement initiatives. Firstly, I set the pace for continuous improvement in these 2 schools using these slogans to remind everyone in the school about having the need to improve continuously, and also I emphasize on collaboration and teamwork. I would like to use this picture as visual metaphor to illustrate the challenges I faced over my years as a school principal, and where my most challenging journey began on 1st of January 2009. So in Malaysia, like what Dr. Liu said, especially in Sabah, in managing schools with diverse cultures among the people, I had to be aware and take into considerations of their cultural sensitivities. Over 12 years or so in performing my duties as a school leader, the challenges which I have experienced are grouped into these 6 main areas. So let us look at the physical challenges first, right? Inspecting and monitoring the physical repairs, project works, progress and development in the school, plus attending site meetings to discuss issues pertaining to the safety disruption caused by the delayed and disorganized works were part of my duties, especially when I was in SMK Bandaraya. And when I arrived there, you can see from the pictures that the school physical environment was so run down and unwelcoming. And we all know that a negative learning environment can affect students in many ways and are reasons for low student achievement, poor behavior, student anxiety or depression. So between 2009 and until 2013, there were 2 major projects running concurrently in the school of 2,750 students, and both projects had a lot of issues respectively. But by 2013 to 2014, before I left the school, the physical environment had already improved and had brought about positive school learning environment. Then when in Sanzek, it is divided into 2 parts, the new buildings here, and the buildings were built, were ready by 2012, and the old buildings that were built since 1970s. And these old buildings, including the students' hostel, were having problems similar to SMK Bandaraya, like concrete spalling issues and needed major structural repairs. And these buildings were vacated in preparation for the major repair works in 2020, that was last year. When the pandemic hit us in March 2020, the greatest challenge was to optimize all the rooms for teaching and learning purposes, and also to accommodate the hostel students. In both the schools, the untidy condition of the classrooms, hostels, and also the graffiti drawn on the walls reflected on the poor behavior of the students. All right, so much about the physical aspect. And from the administration aspect, in terms of financial and human resource management issues, I would say it was an arduous task in SMK Bandaraya and similarly in SMK Sanzek, because cleaning up the mess left behind was a tough experience, because I had to retrieve evidences and move backwards in time to get to the root of the problems. But fortunately, we managed to put the financial matters back into proper order within the first 2 years. The staffing and management of staff also needed major revamp to maximize the productivity of the organization. Now, most of the teachers, when I arrived in the school, most of the teachers were doing their routine work job, and there was actually an urgent need to enhance the instructional strategies, especially to teach low achievement students. However, one of the issues will be, we all know, the resistance to change was very high. And there was also staffing issues, like the lacking of teachers with the required subject specialties. And teachers was transferred out, or staff was transferred out without immediate replacement, and staff who frequently went on sick leave, annual leave, and so on. So staff who are having personal issues, family problems, and healthcare and well-being issues were affecting their work performance. Excuse me. Most of the students have poor behavior. The truancy rate was very high, and they were also quite disobedient during the early months when I was there. Almost 60% of my students come from struggling family with financial issues, broken marriages, and so on. And they also come from deprived living conditions. The healthcare and mental well-being were also at stake, and some of them come with some kind of learning disabilities which were not easily detected, and teachers were not trained to handle them. So next, on the community side, we have low parental involvement, because some parents are unreachable, because their contact numbers seems to be constantly changing, and parents also have dilemma in a dilemma to handle the rebellious behavior of their own teenage children. As a school principal in a public school in Malaysia, we receive staff and students posted to our school from the education department. We don't have the autonomy to select our staff, and it was an additional challenge when problematic staff from another school were posted to our school, or to my school, in the pretext to give them a change in their working environment. Now, building teams takes time and effort to build strong teams, but when successful teachers were promoted, transferred, or went out to pursue their further studies, rebuilding a strong team was another demanding task. So much about the challenges briefly, and let us move on to see what I have done in implementing a sustainable school improvement cycle. So these are the important components which I will touch on: the leadership, myself, teachers, students, and parents. They are the more important components to for a successful continuous school improvement initiative. So the process of continuous school improvement, which I have undertaken, can be related to the NOLS process enneagram, which actually has 9 points here: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and back to 0, 9. Right. This process enneagram can be used to guide organizations to solve complex problems, build the social connections, evaluating, monitoring, reviewing actions for further improvement. So the three elements: zero is our identity, who are we, why are we here, and then build relationships, 3, and also 6, information. Does everyone know what's going on? These 3 elements, which forms the inner triangle of the process enneagram, are the central elements of a self-organization, which must be established well before we start the other process of school improvement. To be able, now we know that, schools are generally understood to be loosely coupled systems in which individuals and groups within the school function with a high degree of autonomy. Hence, it is a crucial role for a school leader to link up the various units to work together collaboratively to achieve the aims of the school and bring about positive students' learning outcomes. And to be able to do so successfully, a leader must be creative to connect the past and existing elements in the school to create opportunities for the teachers and students to learn and grow. As a leader, I did my best to bring along as many staff as possible to move forward and to progress in their professional career, because to me, leadership is about being able to tap the talents of others and bring about the best in them to create a better place to learn and grow harmoniously, happily, and meaningfully. The school improvement process begins with the leader, and we must possess qualities such as self-awareness, self-learning, self-development. So in order to be able to lead and move forward as a leader, I had to be constantly learning and keeping up with current happenings, and also be able to foresee possibilities and opportunities for the betterment of the people in the school. So this requires a lot of reading widely. And I did this through doing observations, talking to the staff, teachers, the staff, the students especially, and also doing document or content analysis by reading teachers' written reflections in their teaching record books. And I also spend time with my students. I taught in the classroom, and from there, I wrote and also presented papers in district, state, national, international levels, and also got myself very involved as a judge at international and national competitions. And besides that, I also keep updating myself through taking the effort to mentor and coach teachers as well as students in their projects. Well, let's move on to the teachers component. Right, this famous quote by Barber and Motion in McKinsey Report 2007 tells us the importance of quality of teaching. So I, as an instructional leader or a lead learner, I have to enhance the teachers' teaching quality in both schools. And I gave emphasis on school-based continuous professional development, or the CPD. I focus firstly on instructional matters. I read the teachers' written reflections, give them feedback, and think deeply in their teaching and students' learning outcomes. Together with my senior leaders team, we built positive collaborative cultures in school through activating PLC, or the professional learning communities. I introduced team teaching, and we did lesson study too. Teachers worked in teams and did not have to work in silo anymore. And I promoted, trained, coached, and mentored teachers in conducting action research. I also guided them to write papers and do presentations at district, state, national, international seminars. At the same time, we also created a sharing practices platform in the school for teachers to share their work. And in SMK Bandaraya, we managed to publish a few publications on teachers' work for people who are interested to get the copy from them. And I always encourage and allow teachers to go out of school to share their best practices with the wider community. And of course, without neglecting their teaching and learning time. So the impact on the teachers was teachers successfully won awards at the international, national, state, and district level. These are some pictures that I could share with you. My teachers from SMK Sunset, who did very well, and also in SMK Bandaraya. They went all out to share their work with the other people in the world. And in SMK Bandaraya, as well as in SMK Sunset, my teachers won the state level Innovative Teachers Award, as well as the national level Innovative Teachers Award, like this group here, the Time Boom 2017 and Easy Grade 2018 by Cikgu Nolizia, Cikgu Juliza, and Cikgu May. Well done again. So in SMK, like I say, SMK Sunset progressed very well and was also awarded overall champion for the school successes in various aspects. But in both schools, one critical issue was the students' attendance, which was very unsatisfactory. Hence, we had to study ways to attract students to come to school and learn. Well, to create a safe learning environment does not mean overcoming problems of bullying only, but it also means that students should be given the assurance that making mistakes is part of the learning process. Students need to be educated to accept their weaknesses and be always ready to take corrective measures and try again to do better. So for that, I have showed love and care, talk to them, listen to them, give attention to their well-being. I emphasized a lot on teaching to the learner's needs and ability. We provided opportunities for students to go out to participate in competitions, irrespective if they win or lose. The participation is most important for them to get the experience out there, and giving them awards, even small motivating awards, so students and the mentor teachers as well, and to nurture a thinking culture and to teach them problem-solving skills. We introduced a lot of innovation competitions at school level and also project-based learning projects for them. Besides that, we also did training students to do public speaking to build confidence. So over the years, these initiatives have a big impact on students' growth and achievement as well as the school culture. And I'm indeed very proud to say that we, in both schools, we won the Semio Japan ESD Award, third prize winner in SMK Bandaraya, and second prize winner in SMK Sunset. And also my students was the finalist in the Semio Redfund Second Youth Creation Nutrition Competition in Jakarta, and they brought home the Most Favorite Idea Award. And in 2019, SMK Sunset continued to shine in the international scene when 2 teams from SMK Sunset made it to the top 10 teams representing Malaysia to the ICANN Global Children's Summit in Rome, Italy. In 2018, remember I told you that SMK Sunset was actually a notorious school. You can read further actually from here. The press reader, they have, a Star Malaysia has did the write-up about my school, and it was really amazing. And we made history when we won the inaugural Malaysia's Kindest School Award at the national level. And one of our students, Muhammad Saiful Ikhwan, was chosen to represent Malaysia at the UNICEF African Youth Development Summit program in Johannesburg, putting SMK Sunset's and Sabah's name in the global arena. At other national level competitions, SMK Sunset also recorded excellent performance. We were champion at the School Lab competition for 2 years consecutively, and also in ICT programs competition. the National Code Challenge, Young Innovative Challenge. These are the ICT programs, and many other student achievements. And at Sabah state level, both SMK Bandaraya and SMK Sanzek were overall champions with their respective innovative and creative products in the prestigious Syndex competition, which is organized once in 2 years by the Rotary Club. So 2010 and 2012, SMK Bandaraya was the champion, and 2019 we were the overall champion, and we won the challenge trophy, the Chief Minister Challenge Trophy. So it won't be complete. No, let us see further. Okay, so we saw great changes when students behave well, listen to instructions, they were well disciplined, they respect each other's similarities and differences, and most importantly, showing advancement in the academic performance as the entire whole school environment transformed to be a happy school. So it won't be complete if I don't show you how the students have improved in their learning and academic performance. This line graph shows the school's SPM average grade. So in SMK Bandaraya, it improved from 6.45 in 2009 when I left. 2013, the GPS, or the average SPM average grade has improved to 5.61, and in SMK Sanzai, it was from 6.21 to 5.09. And here are a few pictures of my beloved students who have obtained scholarships to study overseas and also in the local university. Well, in the final part of this presentation, I wish to share with you the initiatives taken to create and build a good relationship with the school's Parents Teachers Association and the school alumni through these few initiatives that we have done. And the PTA and the alumni of both schools were very supportive of the school development, and they have helped us in many ways in school, and also building on the physical requirements that we needed. And we reached out to the students, villages, and homes to build a good rapport. Actually, like what we heard just now from Dr. Rusmini, this is to increase the community awareness towards the importance of education. And we also work with the local community and getting their professional assistance to train our students in special skills. And SMK Sanzai also did a lot of community service by cleaning up the surrounding areas. SMK Sanzai is also well known for its cleanest toilet in the Kota Kinabalu city. And I must give credit to the school's Parents Teachers Association Chairman, Tuan Haji Janis bin Abdullah, for his never-ending support. In SMK Sanzai, through these smart partnerships with generous sponsors, community leaders, and kind-hearted organizations, the students and the school have benefited in terms of getting better learning resources, facilities, and financial support for students' activities. So continuous improvement isn't just about improving, it is about improving an organization's ability to improve. And I'm indeed fortunate and grateful for being able to focus on the continuous development schools, especially in Sanzai, because I must admit here that it wouldn't have worked out so well if not for the hardworking and committed senior leaders and middle leaders team and other dedicated teachers. Last but not least, a leader must lead with sincerity, patience, compassion, be kind and truthful always. I wish to share with you the joy I have had in executing my duties amidst all the challenges I have faced. Thank you to all of you in SMK Bandaraya for the experiences. And a big thank you to all my dear friends in SMK Sanzai for your never-ending support and encouragement, and giving me a most unforgettable send-off, even though we were restricted by the movement control order on 4th November last year. I am indeed grateful for your effort in making 15 meaningful videos posted on YouTube and announcing my retirement in the local newspapers in 3 languages, and of course not forgetting the memorable farewell gift. My deepest and heartfelt gratitude to the Director of Education Sabah, Datuk Dr. Mistrin Radin, and the Chief Education District Officer of Kota Kinabalu, Madam Tania bin Jaman, and all the respected officers for the prestigious Anugerah Tokoh Guru 2021, the Role Model Teacher Award, presented to me by the Most Honorable Chief Minister of Sabah on 7th of July, Datuk Seri Panglima Haji Noor. And finally, indeed, the journey is the reward. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Shirley.
Yeah.
It's fantastic sharing.
Thank
What I
you.
would like to say is you are very different.
Thank you.
You are very, very different. You are not only a transformational leader, instructional leader, value-driven leader with so many big hardship throughout your PowerPoint presentation just now.
Oh dear.
Okay? And also a caretaker leader. So for your information, I visited the school, SMK Senzek, 3 years ago for a field work in that school. I have seen how Dr. Sherry work, like non-stop walking here and there to take good care, if possible, everyone in the school. So even the teachers from other school also come to the SMK Senzek for the team teaching. I can see that it's very inspiring, very motivated. Ania, Shabas, excellent, well done, Dr. Shelley. We are so happy we have such a great educator in Malaysia and hope for more educators like you in future. So, Dr. Shelley, we have a few questions here. Yeah, if you can see, is that Dr. Shelley, I truly admire you, your dedication. Could you share with us how you kept yourself highly motivated to keep giving up very best?
Wow, thank you. Yeah. Thank you for the question. I think, like I say before I ended my talk just now, it must come from the heart. We have our former Ketua Pengarah who said this also. When we are given the trust and responsibility to do a job in the school, it's all about the students. The students. So, however, I mean, for me, the students are my motivation actually. And I feel young whenever I'm with them. They bring along so many differences, so many very unique characteristics. And besides that, like I say, as a leader, we have to be always keeping updated and learning, looking for opportunities. I say foresee, we have to look further, foresee what are the things that is important for the students. And I'm very glad, like, if I can answer this further. And in SMK Senzek, they were very the teachers were generally very receptive. And I focus a lot on the SDGs, Sustainable Development Goals, because I feel that the students need to know about what SDG is, because it will help us to create a better place to live in.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Shelley. So I think another question for you. Dr. Shelley, you were a little bit emotional when presenting the challenges. You show your patience. Okay? Considering the many challenges you have encountered, could you share what were your immediate focus when you were first posted in these 3 schools? What is your first priority?
Thank you. Yeah, the first priority, like I say, whatever, like I share with my senior leader teams, whatever decision that we make, we must put the outcome, the end is our students first. So before we make any decision or what are the aims that I say in the process in your grant, we have to start off with what are the aims. So the aims to upgrade the students' capability. So not only in academic achievement, which is very tough, like you say, some of them come from very challenging contexts, but everybody, like I say, they come with their own talents. So we tap onto their talents. tap on the students' talents, build confidence. Not that if they don't do well academically means they are like useless. No, I never say this to my students. So that's why I really love to sit down together and talk to them always. So I feel that through this kind of approach that I show like in many how to call that written research, they say we must be visible. The principal must be visible. I sit together with them during recess time because that's the time when I can see them walk around. But it takes a lot of energy. Yeah. Thank
Dr.
thank
Shirley.
God that I have that energy.
So another question is that if you were given another opportunity and these schools at that time, is there anything you will do differently? Do you have any regrets? Yes.
When I look back, okay, in retrospective, okay, I will only talk about Bandaraya and Sanzek. I think Bandaraya's experience taught me something more, so that when I went to Sanzek, I how to call that? I trained the senior leaders team, and I sit back as I took the role as an kind of like consultant. I let them have that ownership in their work. When I was in Bandaraya, I was not so fortunate, I would say, at the beginning, because the senior leader team was a bit they were just promoted in 2009. There was a big promotion exercise, so they were just promoted and they needed a lot of guidance. Whereas when I went to SMK Sunset, my senior leader teams were very mature and they can make good decisions for this, because they know that the principle behind is the decision made, or whatever we want to take the role, we must have who at the end is the students. The outcome must be some beneficial thing for the students, and that's it. Make it simple. So we had a lot of consultation and discussion actually.
Thank you, Dr. Shirley. I think that's all for the presentation and also the Q&A section from Dr. Shirley. So now we have about 12 minutes to end the section. So we would allow perhaps 3 more questions. You may turn on your mic and ask the speaker who you want to ask. Yes, please welcome. Is there any questions? Or you can even type in the chat, no problem. You can on your mic to ask the speaker. Okay, while waiting for the questions from the participants, I would like to summarize the sharing from our 3 distinguished speakers. Dr. Liu is an academic scholar. So he tried to look at the turnaround school in China from 3 men's perspective in terms of strategies, values, and also approaches. As what Dr. Liu said before, there are some similarities between China and also Malaysia. This is very clear that we can see. One of it is teacher professional development and also principal leadership preparation. And Dr. Rusmini, the second speaker, specialized turnaround school initiative taken by the Ministry of Education Malaysia by looking from deep learning perspective. She shared about 4 special cases in the school and how the students really learn and improve based on the deep learning strategies. And Dr. Shirley is a practitioner. What I can say is that is a practitioner. She's not only based on use her experience to give the best practices to the school, to improve the school, but I also can see that actually she made use of the theories, the learning theories and also the leadership theories to improve the school. This is something I would say is very important for the principals, how to help them to lead the school. Okay, so basically we have learned a lot in this seminar, in this webinar, including myself. And yeah, I would like to welcome any questions before we end the webinar. Okay, there is one question here for Dr. Shelley. Okay, how to increase parents' involvement, making them willing to join in? Dr. Shelley?
Yeah, thank you. I just saw the well it's a very challenging task actually, but we have to understand that some of them are really struggling also to make ends meet. So getting them involved, thank God that now we have the, we can relate through social media. So getting them to come in person for meetings and all shouldn't be just taken as an indicator of whether parents' involvement. You see, teachers, through the respective form teachers, they also interact with parents over their handphone WhatsApp messages. That is also actually interaction, like passing through information and parents asking about school. Okay, okay, getting them to come to school during activities. We do have, like any other schools in Malaysia, we do have the open day school where they come and get their report cards, and also the meetings, and we also have small focus group engagement with parents. That is more important. So for me, getting parents, most importantly is parents or the community, they know what's going on in the school. That is the linkage there. Okay.
Thank you, Dr. Shelley. So maybe we also can hear some feedback from Dr. Liu in China school context, how to involve, how to get more parental involvement in Chinese school in China.
So you're asking me how to involve the parents in China?
Yes.
Oh, in China, there's a different ways to engage parents. So most common practice is, like teacher and parent council, right? And also there's different ways. For instance, the parents can volunteer in the school, right? So some parents have the good educational background, so they can come to school to volunteer, like special skills, like cooking or something, like helping the student grow, right? And also sometimes the parents have the chance to participate in school decision making. It's not like a real decision maker, but they pretty much can share their views in school operation. Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Liu, for the sharing. So we go to the last questions. Did you experience any challenges with online teaching and learning during the pandemic? Any advice? So perhaps these questions could be responded by Dr. Shelley and also Dr. Rusmini. Maybe we can ask Dr. Rusmini how the Ministry of Education to ensure a better operations of online teaching and learning during the pandemic. Dr. Rusmini?
Thank you, Dr. Tian. Of course, during our PDPR or online learning process during the pandemic, it's not without challenges. We have, challenges in terms of connectivity and students from remote areas. But it's not we are having the PDPR or online learning, but during the pandemic we are having also like the off-site learning, like teachers they went to the students or a center of certain centers so that they can disseminate or distribute the learning materials to the students. And they also have this kind of offline learning, like getting through their learning materials to the students through emails or WhatsApp, so on and so forth. Like it's not really a synchronous learning. For those who can for those students or the schools that have good connectivity, that they do not have any problems on this connectivity, so internet connectivity, so they are having this kind of online synchronous learning process. So we have different modes of remote learning or online learning. It depends on the students' context of area, where do the location of the schools and their learning center. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Rosmini. Dr. Shirley, would you like to share about, your response for these questions at school level?
Yeah, and almost what Dr. Rosmini had just mentioned. Of course, at my level, even though I said that my school is right in the heart of Kota Kinabalu city, but we have like almost 60% of my students who are from the B40 group, and they also have problems with connectivity or even no handphone. So the online learning went on with students who are able to go online, and but for those who couldn't make it for the first phase, it was quite haphazard, I would say. But I told the teachers that because that's when the students came back, they have to be very focused. And we are so thankful that the ministry has also given us an revised curriculum, like teaching them the how to call that, the focus areas. So and I also emphasized a lot on flipped classroom, that will help them a lot. And also group learning, like making students study in groups and they share with each other. But as the time went by, I see that like towards the end of last year and also now like this year, many of the students were able to get get connected to the learning. So I still would say that teachers must use flipped classroom learning.
Okay, thanks, Dr. Shirley. So now we come to the end of the webinar. Thank you so much. So as a representative from a School of Educational Studies in University Science Malaysia, allow me to say a big thank you to the three distinguished speakers. For Dr. Peng Liu, we are sorry because we know that now Canada is about 12 midnight. Thank you so much for your time.
No worries.
Okay, and then also to Dr. Rosmini, I know that you're very, very busy with your your endless meeting and work. Thank you so much. You spend time with us and we learn a lot from you. And to Dr. Shirley, although we know you have already retired, you should enjoy your life, but you still come and share with us so much things that we learn from you. Three of you are such a great scholars in education. We should learn from you. So with this, I would like to take a group photo, okay, with all the participants. So hope you can turn on your camera. No worries about the certificate. Okay, if you couldn't scan the QR code, just let us know. We have already provide you the email. Feel free to contact our secretariat. We will try our best to help. Then for the slides, I think a few participants, they asked about the slide. So yeah, we can share with you upon request. Feel free to email us, okay, and we will share with you the slides. Yeah. So yeah, so now I would like to take the photo. Okay.
May I take a photo as well?
Yeah, we will take a photo.
Thank you.
So now we go to the next slide. Yeah. Okay. One more. Please turn on your camera. We can't see your faces. Just wait for a minute. No, I think it's okay. So, okay, thank you so much. Great to meet you here, and hopefully
Thank you.
we can have another webinar next year. Okay, thank you so much, and feel free to propose your topic for our next webinar. And we look forward to work closely with Dr. Peng Liu, Dr. Rusmini, and also Dr. Shelley in future. Bye-bye. Have a nice day.
Thank
Stay
you.
healthy, stay safe.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you so much. Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tony,
Thank you.
for coming.
Dr. Liu, Dr. Shelley, and Dr. Rusmini, hope you can just stay for a while. We have just
Sure.
less than 5 minutes. I have something to discuss with three of you.
Yeah, thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Tony left.
And thank you so much for all the participants to provide such a good remarks for us. Thank you very much.
Appreciate if you can send PPTs to them.
Yeah, many participants request the PowerPoint slide. As I
Thank you,
say,
Dr.
we
Chen.
send upon
So,
request. So feel
presentation
free
is
to
very
send us the
impressive.
email.
I can, we can do a research on you, right, to write a good paper. Very good, excellent. Yeah.
Thank you.
So can make a case study, Dr. Liu?
Yeah, for sure. I think that's great case study on leadership, right? Particularly, that leadership is a mix with some cultural values. I think that's great. Yeah.
Actually, I didn't have enough time to elaborate. In fact, like on team teaching, I wrote a paper and I presented one some years ago on how I did the team teaching. There are so many things of the how to, which in 20 minutes I can't say it.
Exactly. You provide us a lot of great information. It's really impressive. And also, I think, Dr. Tay, I think the collaboration, the good relationship between the teachers and the students is also very important, right? For in the process for the school transformation, right?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. Because based on my experience in Chinese context, some schools, the relationship between teachers and students are not really good. So, yeah, the transformational leader, the school leaders, turnaround leaders might build up the relationship between the teachers and the students.
Yeah, that's why the one of those characteristics I say we must be humble. We have to bring ourselves to their level. Then only we will really know what's the root of the problem. You cannot just say, okay, I'm a principal, you don't come near me. No,
Exactly. Yeah.
and in fact, being together with them give me a lot of energy. They tell me so many stories. I can write a book on the stories that they told me.
So what's the science of your school? What's the science of your school?
Size.
The science, yeah. How many students?
The first school at SKM Bandaraya was 2,750.
2,000. Wow.
Yeah. And
what else?
SMK Sunset was 1,500 students.
Wow. And what about another one?
Yeah.
So you experienced 2 schools, right? I remember 3, 2 schools, right?
3. The first one was in Sandakan. That was a good school. It's all girls school. Over 1,000 students and an all girls school. So it's so much easier. All girls school is so much easier.
But you pretty much use what kind of leadership style you use based on your experience? What kind of leadership style you use?
You say big schools, we have to do distributed leadership. We have to
pretty much collaborative leadership, right?
Yes, I don't like the word empower because sometimes people will define it wrongly. In fact, it's just giving them the ownership and let them make the decision for their, because in Malaysia and we have like different departments. Like we have, there are 4 main departments, the head departments. So we have to move on this team, and I see that in our ministry is doing a lot of this type of courses for the senior leaders team and also the middle leaders team, which is very important.
Right. How do you think about the roles of the middle leaders in the school transformation?
They are actually the people who are executing the things that they are executing. They are doing the work, and they are on the ground with the teachers. See, teachers sometimes they may feel a bit shy to bring it to us. So they are the mediators there.
Actually, they did most of the job in school transformation, right?
Yeah, the doing part. So we are monitoring, and I say as a consulting person, so I do meet my team quite often to get feedback.
All right, that's great. Yeah, I'll talk to you more. I'll definitely send you an email. Maybe we can do the case study on you, right? So we can write it together, right?
Okay, Dr. Liu and Shirley, I think Dr. Rusmini already left the webinar, but it's fine, no problem. No problem. The only things now I would like to share with you is that we will send you the photos and remarks from the participants through email soon, and also your certificate. And then one more thing is we have another future webinar in future. Webinar in future. Okay, so perhaps we can have further discussion after this because Dr. Rosmini is not around. So never mind, we will communicate through email soon. Thank you.
Sure.
Bye-bye.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Well
done, Dr. Tian.
Yeah, 谢谢你，刘老师。Okay, 谢谢。Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
We will send you the certificate soon after this.
I really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Liu.
Bye.
Bye.
晚安，晚安。
晚安。Thank you. Bye-bye.